You're watching the Chaos Protocol on Transplaner RPG, an all-transgender, people of color-led dark fantasy TTRPG show set in an original non-colonial, anti-Orientalist multiverse. If you like what you see, please consider pledging to our Patreon to support the show and get access to a patron-only after-show, early podcast episodes, GM notes, character sheets, and even the chance for your tabletop OC to cameo in our series. Thank you so much for watching, and enjoy. The Chaos Protocol is a dark fantasy series that may contain content that is triggering for some viewers. Content warnings for this episode include fantasy violence, strangulation, blood, death, grief, trauma, body horror, neck gore, romance, and complex relationships. Arc 3, Episode 8, and Dark Sanguine Streets. From Praying Beside the Teeth That Killed Me by Connie Chang. Rhododendron. Over the pounding music and strobing lights of the Bloodbath, you hear your name being shouted. You recognize the voice at once. Diablo is not usually someone you shirk away from. All things considered, they are a very level-headed person in Inferno, but there is a tightness to their voice, an edge, a bite. And then you see them, cutting through the crowd like a knife. Diablo is leading someone toward you, someone you've never seen before, with a wide-brimmed hat and a network of scars across his cheeks. And then Diablo is in front of you, frowning, the dark skin of his face creased with irritation. Rhododendron. Just the spider I wanted to find.
And what occasion do I owe the pleasure of your company tonight, Diablo? I figured you might be a little too busy for all this.
Unfortunately, the occasion is a little less than pleasurable. Meet Xainan Esch.
Howdy.
Rhododendron.
Pleasure.
I wish we were meeting under more cordial circumstances, but you see, Xainan Esch has taken Anugata's bike for a joyride in hot pursuit of yours truly and crashed both of us summarily through dark matter.
And I presume that taking Anugata's bike was not with permission.
No. And Xainan takes a moment because he's also looking Rhododendron up and down, sort of filing away as much information as possible, because this is who they were sent for.
Well, if I know Anugata, and unfortunately, as well as I do, she is not going to be happy.
No, that's a little bit of an understatement, I think, Rhododendron. But first, before we get to brass tacks, Esch, and Diablo turns to you with a stern look on their face. You should go get a mouthful of red from the bar and get your head on straight before you do something else you regret. And when you are ready to settle your tab, find me and Ro back here. And in the meantime, Rhododendron and I will discuss your recompense, assuming, of course, that House Thakrar is still interested in helping those who do not claim a house resolve our issues? Or is that no longer the case?
No, it is.
Very well.
As much as I don't fancy the task of talking to Anugata and potentially, well, whatever it is, as much as I don't love the idea of it, I don't think that anyone new to Inferno, as it seems that you might be, should be doing that themselves. So, best luck to those who...
And look forward to working with you. Diablo, I'll come find you.
Yes, You better. I'll be keeping my eyes on you, so you don't slip away. Though he says it with like
Don't
an
worry.
edge of humor, as though he knows you won't.
I have to find my way there. All right.
And Xainan, as
straightens
you
up
step
and
away,
starts to go.
yeah, as you step away from Rhododendron and Diablo, that is when you catch a glimpse of white hair through this crowd. And just a second later, your eyes spot Lumièra. She has a phone in hand, and she is scouring this chamber like she's looking for something, and maybe that something is you. And next to Lumièra is none other than Ying He, whose silver eyes are wide, with their dark pupils blown huge by overstimulating sights and sounds all around them of the bloodbath. And on Ying He's forehead, you see a daub of red, a huadian painted in blood. Xainan and Lumièra, you see each other at the same time as Xainan is nosing toward the bar.
Xainan lets out a high-pitched whistle at Lumièra.
Lumièra's ears pick up on it immediately, and her eyes are wide and frantic as she looks around and sees Xainan. Oh, thank fate. Okay.
Xainan says something that you cannot hear and motions to the bar.
Oh, okay. Come on, Ying He. I guess we're going to the bar?
Huh? What, the bar? The bar? Oh, yeah,
Come
yes,
on.
of course.
Focus, focus.
Oh,
and Lumièra,
hello,
like,
Xainan.
tugs
It's good to see you.
their hanfu.
And Ying He lets them be tugged, but they're like they're like someone entering a candy store for the first time in their life. You get the feeling they've never been to a party before at all, much less a party like the Bloodbath. This is probably the most amount of people they've ever seen in their life as they stumble after you and look at all these people. And you notice one of like the dancing groups of people, one of them kind of like cheats their body to the side and notices Ying He and like gives them a wink. And Ying He kind of grows a little red and goes, "Should I stay? No, coming." And they quickly tail you.
Focus.
Right. Yes, of course. The mission, which Xainan, I guess I'm a part of now, too.
Hi, yeah.
Yeah.
And Xainan, when you see him, he not only does he look just different because we're on a different plane, but he looks a little ragged. Besides the fight that is still clearly on him, his eyes are bloodshot. He is a little out of sorts.
So this is no different than a regular weekday. Xainan.
I got a little tangled up. Mm-hmm. And Xainan's trying to flag down the bartender while trying to also listen, but then also hears Ying He talking about, oh yeah, mission. Did you tell him, Lumièra, about everything?
So, and Lumièra turns to Ying He very sharply and steeples her fingers together. Complete look of seriousness on her face.
Ying He mirrors the look of seriousness and also like leans in slightly unsurely and steeples their fingers as well.
Do you two want anything?
I'll have some milk.
No. All right.
Lumièra's face at that is so just confounded.
Is that not? Do they not have that here? That's fine. Then
Or
just
milk if you want to.
Blood then?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lumièra.
One for me as well, please, Xainan.
Yeah.
And Lumièra turns her attention back to Ying He. So, Artemis said that you were a part of Nova with us on a trial run, so here is our mission. We are supposed to help someone by the name Thakrar.
Rhododendron, which and Xainan looks over his shoulder.
You've met them already.
He's like half listening. Yeah, we can't talk to them right now, but I've seen them, and we'll figure that out in a little bit. Here.
Oh.
And Xainan is just like still, I think, waving.
Trying to flag down a bartender.
Trying to flag down a bartender the whole time.
There are
a billion people here.
Yes, there are 3 bartenders working right now, and the bar is crowded. There are like people all up at the bar asking, demanding drinks. Like orders are going out in this chaotic mishmash. But one of them does catch like kind of your increasingly desperate wave.
Just 3 fingers up.
Yeah, she's this fat butch woman with neck tattoos of all kinds of like coiled shapes and dark forms. She just kind of like nods her head at you and like starts like pouring out from like underneath the bar from a secret tap, like 3 shot glasses full of blood, because she can clock right away that the 3 of you are vampires, and she herself is also a vampire. And behind her, on the glass shelf of the bar, you see all kinds of like top shelf liquors and whiskeys and whatnot, and you also see, oddly enough, a chrome-plated skull kind of bouncing on a spring mounted where his spinal column should be. And at first it kind of looks like just an odd metallic robotic decoration, but as the 3 of you as vampires fix your eyes on this skull, it almost swivels, and if it had eyes still, he would have winked one of them at you. He kind of continues bouncing and squeaking on that spring looking at you.
All right.
Okay.
Xainan turns around, I think, with the shots in hand. Here.
Oh, thank you.
And Xainan holds his up. You are with us on this, yes?
Yes. I will make sure that all of you are able to complete your mission objective. As a helper? Honorary
Problem
member
number
of...
1, Yinghe.
We're gonna
Problem number
figure
1.
out what that means for you.
We're gonna figure it out right now. Yinghe?
Lumièra. Yinghe,
I'm being nice.
do you want to follow us everywhere? Or would you like to actually come with us invited?
All I know is what Strike Team Nova does feels right. And I admire you, Xainan. I admire you, Lumièra, and I admire Seir too, and I admired Sing. I still do. And you all helped me help Zhiguang and Xainan, and my plane is, well, it's doing good now, and maybe it doesn't need me anymore the way I thought it did, and I don't know where that leaves me, but I have these powers and I think I can help too. So whether that means I tag along or whether that means I'm able to one day join trans, I'd like to
This is what I'm
explore
asking
that.
you. Alright.
That
So this is
leaves
how we do
you
that.
here, Yinghe. You weren't sure, you weren't privy to whether or not your plane needs you anymore. That may be true. But here, you are needed. So, with that being said, you will help us, we will help you, and together we will be a team. And Lumièra says that, and she smiles tightly. Her smile halfway meets her eyes, but you can still tell that there's some bite behind it that she's swallowing. Not 100% privy or sure as of why, but to each its own. And whatever the hand asks of us on behalf of fate is what we do.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, what do you... Does that mean...
We'll get into that.
Artemis?
Let's drink up.
Okay.
And Xainan just fully, like,
Lumièra downs
slams
it.
that.
Yeah, like throws it back immediately. I think in the midst of that, it finally, it should be satisfying. As soon as that blood hits her tongue, she immediately wants and craves more. It's almost like it's not as satisfying as she needed it to be. So she will saunter over to the bar, and try to flag down the bartender again. This time,
Sure.
however, she like leans over the bar, like over like the stool, and is like laying across it, almost just like leaning out, and has like her ass out to the crowd, and is just like leaning like full tits and cleavage, just facing on front of the bar towards the bartender, and is just sitting there trying to flag for another.
Yeah, the bartender looks at you once and then does a double take, kind of. And she kind of chuckles to herself and skips over someone else's order to get to yours first and pours your group 2 more shots. So in total, you'll get 3. Kind of slides 6 more shots of blood in your direction and leans into your pretty face and says, listen, as pretty as you are, Thakrar was pretty clear about the cutoff for our vamps, okay? 3 shots max. That's what we can do for the house.
Much appreciated. And Lumièra will do like a very slow, exasperated wink, and then like take her middle finger of her left hand and gently like slosh her finger around in the middle of the shot and drink, and like puts it back into her mouth and cleans the blood off her finger. Thank you. And will grab all 3 in one hand, keeping the one that she's already stuck her finger in separate before turning back to her teammates.
The last thing the
Another one for the
bartender
road?
calls after you is, you're welcome, darling. And if you want fresh blood, plenty of pickings on the floor. Gives you a wink and continues tending to the next order.
Lumièra smiles, but she smiles with a bit too much teeth, and her fangs are on display. She kind of like draws her tongue across her left canine and turns away. Another for the road. And she will immediately throw hers back.
Yinghe grabs 2 shots and like downs them one after the other, like, and they like place it down,
One of
lick
them
their
were for
lips.
Xainan.
Well, there's
Oh, I thought there were 3 total for us.
Fair enough. Don't worry about it.
I can try to. Well, I already swallowed it, so sorry.
it's fine.
Don't. Okay.
And Xainan and Lumièra and Yinghe, all 3 of you get to recover 1 thirst per shot of blood. But just
Hell
like
yeah.
with Seir, because you're not feeding off live prey, this is not counting as indulging your thirst, and you just get to mark off 3. That's the max.
Okay.
Xainan, what does that get you at? Because you were pretty desperate over
Xainan
there.
is gonna go back to the bar and get the other 2
Uh-huh.
for him, and he will be now at 4 total. So it'll just be
4
3
thirst,
again.
okay. Lovely. And what are you at, Lumièra?
Lumièra is also going to be at 4 thirst. She's going to take
Okay.
that 3rd shot, but I'm not going to mark it off on my sheet.
Okay.
It's not 100% satisfying as of yet, and she's not sure why.
I love that. Yeah, even these little shots, they take the edge off just a little, but not quite enough. You still want and crave more. So Xainan, you're going back to Rowan Diablo, right? And Lumièra, are you staying at the bar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're splitting off?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm still
Xainan,
gonna
as you
watch Xainan though, like out of my periphery.
Yeah. Xainan even says like, I'm gonna go back to talk to the person that I came here with, and we will be probably near Rhododendron. So keep an eye out.
Okay, Xainan, you kind of push off the bar, you turn around away from Lumièra, you take 1 step forward, and that's when both of you see Seir. Seir, you are cutting through the crowd. You are following Jamie. It is like there's nothing else in this room that matters to you except for your prey, for your mark, and then a tug of fate. A familiar smell. Your nose picks up on it, and your eyes fall on the bar where you see a black hat and streaks of white through darker hair. You see the rest of Strike Team Nova. What decision do you make? Who do you follow?
Seir's pulled out of it as a hunter. He's awash with relief that they're here, sat at a bar at a party, and they're okay. They're okay. They're here. They're okay. And before he could even make that choice in his head, his feet moves before he does, and he walks on over and he just calls out past the sound of the crowd, "Nova!"
And he hears back the whistle, highest pitch.
And Seir marches to the bar, and I think lays his eyes on like Lumièra and on Xainan. His hand first goes to Xainan's shoulder, and Xainan, you feel his grip tighten on your shoulder, and then almost like he catches it and he relaxes.
You alright?
It's been a long night. I'm glad to see you. You're both okay.
Lumièra launches
And-
herself at you in a hug, Seir.
Oh.
Don't
And
scare me like that again.
color of red on his undead features, as Seir's hand is like, arms are outstretched as you hold him, and he envelops you in the hug. He's like, you both scared me. I was at the top of a
come
building. I
together,
didn't know
we
where
live
you
together.
both were.
And
And
Lumièra kind of like
Yinko is
separates
also
herself
here.
from you, straightens herself up. Right,
Um,
yeah.
hello?
Also,
Seir,
I found Yinka.
didn't see you there. Yeah, hi.
Seir looks at both Lumièra and Yinka. The relief leaves, and what replaces it is just panic. Lots of gay panic, I think is the only way that I can describe it. He takes in the entirety of Lumièra's visage and outfit, and he looks at Yinghe, and their entire person and outfit color rises to his cheeks, and he just goes, you both look different.
You look different too. Your horns are gone and your tail, which I guess makes sense.
Yeah. And he stares at Yinghe, and there's a part of him that aches, and his eyes soften. Very obviously at Yinghe. This is an obvious drop of the guard, obvious softening. He goes, I feel a little naked without them.
Oh, well, I guess your beard replaces your horns, or something like that. Looks nice.
Thank you. I grew it out, actually.
Oh.
Lumièra peeps this and steps back, giving them more space, turning her attention back to the party.
And Seir fully encapsulates that Yinghe is here, and there's that ache in his mind and his heart of he really was hoping that Yinghe just wouldn't follow this time. But now that Yinghe is here, it's how could he have wanted that?
So, Xainan and Lumièra were just filling me in about... And then you feel it. All three of you. All at once. Time itself seems to slow down as the hair on the backs of your arms, your shoulders, your necks, they raise. It is a feeling of omen, beating through your dead blood, a feeling as hot as a serpent of fire coiled at the bottom of the wild sea, as cold as corrupted mist in the city of heaven. It is a premonition, it is a warning, it is a memory. And then you see it. All three of you, all at once. A vampire next to the DJ booth, with mascara to spare, dark hair, dark skin, dark leather, vaping, next to a group of sullen goths, her eyes widening in shock, confusion, fear, because advancing upon her is Jamie, hungry, furious, filled with violence, arm cocked back, a sharpened wooden stake flashing between their fingers, and you recall, a sharpened needle of oil flashing between Tiamu's roots, ribboning forward, upward, lancing through Sing's heart. All three of you know exactly what is about to happen, and you cannot let it happen again. You will not. As a terrified scream rips from Yada's throat. Tell me, how do the three of you jump into action?
Lumièra jumps and just briefly time stops for her, similar to how it used to, before it immediately speeds back up again in the blink of an eye. And for a second, she just barrels towards Rose's direction. Not again. Never again. Not on my watch. And she runs towards Yada and, tackles them.
Excellent.
To the ground.
So what action would you like to use? What skill are you invoking?
I'm going to use maneuver.
Okay,
If at
maneuver.
all possible.
Great. Hold that thought before you roll, because I want to know what each of you do in response to this. What about you, Xainan?
Xainan knows exactly where his Ima's dagger is now on this belt that he has not looked very closely at. And he goes in there, he pulls it out, and he is going to trust it like he did on the Wild Sea, and he is going to throw it with extreme accuracy using my sharpshooter special ability from across the room and try and hit the assassin.
Where are you trying to hit, Jamie?
Just in a place to stop them from being able to hit Yada, not in a deadly strike.
Okay, so maybe their hand or their arm or a shoulder or something like that? Okay.
Yeah.
What
Probably the
skill are you
shoulder that
invoking?
is
Sure.
going for them. I'm gonna offer a hunt.
Okay. Hold that thought. Put a pin in that before
Yep.
you roll.
Yep.
Seir, how do you jump into action?
There, ever since that lance pierced Sing's heart, he has felt it haunt the back of his pec, the back of his own heart. He feels it like a little needle lodged into skin. He plays again and again and again. How if he had just been half a second faster? Not this time. He is in a full sprint. And what I want to do is grab Jamie by the neck and hold them in place before attacking them, to disarm them, to hopefully knock them out. But that is what he intends.
Okay, what skill are you invoking?
Wreck.
Okay, so how this works is this is a group action. Usually, we would appoint a leader for this group action and have them mark thirst for anyone in the group that gets a 3 or below, but this is a special situation. All three of you feel it. It is a fated premonition. So all of you are the leader, and none of you will mark thirst if any of you get a low roll, nor will you cut any dice from the pool for being hungry. This is a very special circumstance. So roll the number of pips you have. I'm going to set your position as controlled, and I'm going to set your effect as great.
To use my sharpshooter ability, I do already have to push myself, so I will be getting hungrier.
Great. Love that for you to actively choose to take that thirst. Love it. So why don't all three of you make your rolls right now and just call out your highest die from that pool?
Two sixes.
Much better. 6.
5.
Okay, Xainan, you crit. So this is the best possible outcome for your group and then some. The plan goes off without a fucking hitch. So Xainan, your knife flies through the air like an arrow and lodges into Jamie's shoulder blade at the same time that you, Lumièra, collide with Yara to knock her out of harm's way. And you, Seir, your fist flashes forward and you tighten fingers around Jamie's neck. Xainan, how does that knife disarm Jamie?
The blade sinks in just below their shoulder blade, and involuntarily their hand releases its grip on the stake.
Ugh! There's a yell of pain, and more overwhelmingly, a yell of shock and confusion and frustration as that weapon is dislodged from their grip. And it's almost like they've grown a wing from this silver blade flashing out of their back. Lumièra, how do you tackle Yara out of harm's way?
I think it almost happens in quick time. Lumièra sees Jamie's sights set on Yara and she just runs full barrel. Does a kind of like enveloping tuck and roll in a sense. So she'll run and launch herself at Yara, wrap Yara around in her arms, and hit the ground and roll out of the way.
Love that. You hit this tacky dance floor and you roll, kind of like barreling into dancing bodies a bit, causing a bit of a scene, but fully spiriting Yara out of the direction of that flashing wooden stake. And
sorry.
Speaking of the person who attempted to assassinate her, Jamie, the bottoms of their feet kind of like scrape against the floor as Seir, your hand flashes forward and you lift them up into the air.
He leans into their ears. His eyes are layered with a familiar brutality, and he whispers into Jamie's ear, "You ought to pick your fights better." And he'll rear back and slam his head directly onto Jamie's forehead.
A sickening crunch rings out over the dance floor. And Yara's scream had been drowned out by the music, by the lights, by the grinding bodies, but it reached you regardless. Your little sister shouting in shock, in confusion, in overwhelming fear, and you, of course, you spring into action immediately.
Yara's scream was like a ping on the spider web. It reached all the way down from where Yara is at the DJ booth, down to the center, to the core of Ro's very being. They were always going to hear it. They were always going to know that the little spider is in danger. And in the midst of this conversation with Diablo, Ro, all of a sudden, without warning, goes silent and their eyes blow wide, like something is wrong. And Ray doesn't bother to explain anything, say goodbye, nothing to Diablo before they turn quickly. And they, like you said, spring into action towards Yara. Yara is not a very good swimmer, so they don't bother moving like a shark through the waters of the dance floor with all of these people, all of these mortals, these vampires that are blocking their path. Instead, Ro, like a spider, jumps over the entire crowd right towards Yara and tries to get in between Yara and Jamie.
And Ro, you should have reached her, and in fact you would have reached her. But these three vampires, these random creatures of the night you're meeting for the first time right now, they get there first. Not because you are too slow, you are always quick to act, Ro, but because they are empowered by some sort of strange sixth sense not even you can ascertain the origins of. And now we find you, Ro, at the DJ booth. This party still raging around you as though someone didn't just try to assassinate your sister at a House Thakrar function that you organized. What do?
When Ro is able to close that distance between himself and her sister, they go up to Yara and they place a hand on Yara's shoulder just above where her heart would be beating if she was still alive. And without saying a single word, with their eyebrows knitted and just through their expression alone, Ro asks Yara, "Are you okay?"
Yara, still tangled in Lumièra's protective grasp, they kind of like the two of you disentangle from each other a bit. They look at you at first with like shock and then with a small degree of gratitude dripping into their eyes. And then her eyes fix on her elder sibling. Feel that hand over her unbeating heart. She nods. Her shoulders are shaking. Her breath comes out quakily, but she nods. And then her eyes fall on her would-be killer.
And seeing that Yara is okay, Ro moves Rare Hand over to Yara's shoulder, brings their other hand to Yara's other shoulder and squeezes reassuringly, also bringing Yara's posture back up, as if to say, show strength.
Yara
just
blinks
completely even ignoring the fact that Lumièra is here in close distance to the two of them right now.
Yara blinks quickly, shakes their head a little, and then shoots you a look of resentment, buried underneath the pain, the gratitude, the shock, the connection. Close their eyes. When they open it again, their shoulders are no longer quivering.
And Ro nods. A small nod. Clipped one. And they turn to face Jamie. To see Jamie in the grips of the stranger that they have only just now met, who smells unusual.
That's right.
But putting that aside for a second, Ro looks over to Seir and says, "Drop him."
One moment. And Seir will pull from their left collar, Jamie's left collar, and yank off their jacket where a bunch of wooden stakes fall and pummel out of the inside pocket. And then he drops Jamie.
Jamie hits the ground with that same sickening thunk, groaning groggily. They seem completely disoriented from being headbutt, if not knocked out unconsciously. And that's when you arrive on the scene, Xainan.
Xainan walks up to Jamie kneeling, and he takes no pause as he reaches to their back, grabs that knife, and pulls it out. And runs his tongue over the hooked blade before sheathing it again.
It tastes as sweet as nectar, just as Diablo's blood had, but there's something hotter about it than Diablo's, something bitter, a tang of grief, a tang of pain and rage, murderous intent. You get it all from that single lick.
Huh. Rhododendron?
And Ro nods, acknowledging Xainan and Seir for a second, and even turns slightly to acknowledge Lumièra as well, but that is as far as they go in this moment because there is something greater that Ray needs to deal with. And Ray kneels down on a knee, looking at Jamie, who is on the ground, and they put their hand on Jamie's face, squeezing both of their cheeks together, and pull them up to look at Rim. What did you think you were trying to do? And Ro very forcefully, aggressively pushes Jamie's face down and gets up, looking down at them, and says, "Thou shalt settle thy disputes through formal duels, Jamie. Or have you forgotten?"
Fuck you. They look up at you with the same expression that a trapped rabid fox would.
Fuck you.
You're not my type. Jamie Shimizu. And at this, Ro calls out to the crowd. Jamie Shimizu, a guest of House Thakrar's at the Bloodbath, sullying that invitation that has been extended to you ever so gracefully by our house. I challenge you, here and now, to a duel.
Your voice rings out, and it captures the attention of those immediately surrounding you. And in fact, while you're in the middle of speaking, you'd notice Yara, who's still trembling a little, go up to the DJ booth and tap the DJ, kind of like on the shoulder, whisper something insistently into her ear, and the music cuts out at the same time that you speak, so your voice carries. And the lights even flash on in such a way that the darkness is momentarily wiped away, getting everyone's attention to focus onto you. And a disquieting silence falls over this chamber that was once so filled with mirth and sound and laughter and gyration, and now is just eyes all fixed on you. And those who know, because there are mortals here too, but those who know, and they start to whisper. And you hear vampires starting to whisper to each other, a duel, a challenge has been issued. And then you see Diablo cutting through the crowd, shouting, get the humans out of here. And we see other vampires starting to turn and corral confused looking mortals, most of whom are drunk or addled on other substances, out of the chamber. And this all happens in a matter of moments, of heartbeats, of seconds, as soon as you issue this. And before you know it, no mortals remain in this chamber. They've all been shepherded out, and the only folks that still populate the dance floor are vampires. And all of them, right now, are hungry for spectacle. And Diablo, kind of having taken lead here, turns to you, Ro, and says, well, Rhododendron. And Jamie, will you accept me as your adjudicator?
I accept.
Very well. And Diablo steps forward with a kind of learned, lean confidence and experience. They have done this before. They are a very well-respected adjudicator in all Inferno. And as that happens, the remaining people clear out a ring in the center of the dance floor. A ring that leaves only Jamie and Ro behind, and Strike Team Nova if you don't move with the rest of the crowd.
Xainan will kind of herd the other three towards a place where we can get a good view of what's happening.
You don't have to herd Lumièra. She's already stepped off over into the corner. Essentially, this is the most interesting party she's been at in who knows how long.
Gotta get you more parties.
Seir doesn't relax. He feels the blood in the air. And as soon as Nova is reunited, I think even before Nova reunites, when Xainan licked the blade and like tucked it away, there's a moment where Seir like looks at you like quizzically and like tilts his head, but leaves that aside for now as we gather in the side.
Xainan does just offer you a little shrug.
I have news. I may have found our shrike, or something like it. Shrikes are the symbol of House Lanius. I was in their, what's it called? Union meeting.
What's a union?
I don't know.
Alright, that's for later.
And that's when Diablo's voice rings across the crowd. He steps forward as a referee of sorts, in between where Jamie is groggily picking themselves up off the floor and Ro is presiding over this as the spider. And Diablo says, Houses of Inferno, hear this adjudicator's plea. Rhododendron Thakrar of House Thakrar is formally invoking the Third Crimson Edict, as is their right, under the laws unwritten of the Crimson Tapestry. The Edict of Challenge states, thou shalt settle thy disputes through formal duels. Rhododendron Thakrar of House Thakrar, do you challenge
Jamie Shimizu, who claims no house, to this formal duel?
I do.
And Jamie Shimizu, who claims no house, do you accept? I do. This adjudicator hears your concurrence and verifies the challenge. First, I call upon the house's major to bear witness if witness can be borne. Is a vassal, retainer, or lex of House Huyen among us on this bitter night? The crowd murmurs and shifts, looking amongst themselves, and then, raising a sleek prosthetic hand, is a lanky vampire with a partially shaved head and dark brown skin. Their bright green eyes flash beneath thick glasses. Zare Cruz, 4th retainer to House Huyen, is present. Witness well, fair retainer, on behalf of the House of the Fox, and report your discoveries to the professor herself with clarity and haste. Now is a vassal, retainer, or lex of House Ula among us on this bitter night. This time, a young man dressed in leather and denim raises his hand, his braids flashing with golden brackets. Elijah Gem, vassal to House Ula, is indeed present. Witness well, humble vessel, on behalf of the House of the Serpent, and report your discoveries to the abbot themselves with clarity and haste. Now is a vassal, retainer, or lex of House Kuatun among us on this bitter night. Yeah, she sure fucking is. And the voice rumbles like thunder. The crowd parts, with more than a few heads bowing in respect as a tall woman noses forward, broad-shouldered, dark-haired, pissed as all hell. Lumièra, you recognize her instantly. This is the woman whose bike Xainan stole. Do you telegraph this to Xainan in any way?
Oh, yes. What you don't know is while all of this is happening currently, they're naming people and listing houses. Lumièra has her phone out and is like on the low taking notes of what's happening in her notes app. This might be information that's important for later, so why not take notes? But Lumièra does like acknowledge that like under her breath to Xainan. That's the one you pissed off.
Oh, fuck.
You did what now?
Don't worry about it.
She
Xainan
said
and his sinky
pissed off.
fingers. Consistently.
Oof. Yingke is there. None of you noticed them arrive. They're just there. They also have their phone out. They looked at you and they took their phone out to copy you, kind of. But they have their voice memos out. And they kind of mutter, but not so quiet that none of you can't hear. It appears Xainan pissed off the biggest, meanest looking vampire here so far.
Step forward, Yinghe. It'd be easier for me
I
to see
can't
you.
hear you.
And Seir puts his hand on the small of Yinghe's back and pushes him forward in front of him so he can have all of Nova in front of him.
He kind of like stiffens a little as you place your huge hand against the slender back of their waist, and they kind of move forward, and they don't do much after that. This woman that Xainan pissed off, her thundering blue eyes fix onto Xainan Esch, even as she's addressing Diablo across the room in a guttural snarl.
Xainan fully tips his hat at her.
Lumièra steps in front of you and like elbows you so sharply right in the fucking ribs. You can't be serious.
I was making an introduction.
Jean, 1st retainer to House Kuatun, is present. Witness well, mighty retainer, on behalf of the House of the Bear, and report your discoveries to the mogul herself with clarity and haste. Now is a vassal, retainer, or lex of House Lanius among us on this bitter night. And at that, the crowd stills. Whispering breaks out. Eyes dart around. No one steps forward, not a single soul. And Diablo smiles at that as though he were expecting it and says, "Very well. In the stead of a witness, the city herself shall..." And then a voice cuts through the crowd. A witness from House Lanius is present. Murmuring, rippling, the crowd parts to reveal an older Chinese woman flanked by several of her peers, steel-toed boots still muddy from work, flannel sleeves rolled up to her elbows. She doesn't look like she belongs at a decadent subterranean party filled with young blood, but every eye in the catacombs widens. Heads bow in respect, bodies shuffle backward to give her and her retinue space. And of course, Seir, you recognize her. This is the leader of the Shrikes. Herself, the woman who, not hours prior, was addressing a crew of construction workers. Her piercing red eyes fall briefly on you. In the crowd, noting who you're standing next to, noting what you've done, and an inscrutable expression settles over her face. How do you take that in?
Seir doesn't cower or hide. He was there at House Lanius' union meeting. He was invited in. If he were to act, what is that a business of theirs? He's made his position clear. He is with Nova, and he meets her gaze uncoweringly.
The leader of the Shrikes scans you up once, twice, and then moves on as though you're a pebble on the side of the road. She steps forward like she owns the place, and those crimson eyes flash over the gathered vampires, and when she speaks, it is with complete and utter unchallenged authority. Ariti Lanius, matriarch of House Lanius, is present. And the crowd takes in a collective breath, and Diablo's smile widens. Well, witness well, fearsome Lex, on behalf of the House of the Shrike, and see with eyes unclouded as the builder herself. Aditi nods, fixes her gaze onto Ro and Jamie, and Diablo addresses the crowd once more. And now, is there a vassal, retainer, or Lex of House Thakrar among us on this bitter night? And Yara steps forward, still trembling, but composed. Oh, Yarrow Thakrar, third heir to House Thakrar, is present. Witness well, littlest heir, on behalf of the House of the Spider, and report discoveries to the Weaver herself, with clarity and haste. And now, for the House's minor, are there any vassals, retainers, or lexi among us on this bitter night? And at that, an affirmative chorus resounds from the gathered crowd, with various vampires shouting out various titles and the myriad houses they belong to. And when the shouting dies down, Diablo nods and turns back to the duelists in question. So it is heard, so it is said. The houses major and minor are present with you on this bitter night. Rhododendron Thakrar of House Thakrar, state your grievance and the recompense you seek, be it pride, blood, or second death.
Jamie Shimizu, having been given an invitation to enter a party thrown by my house, House Thakrar, has chosen to settle a grievance by attempting murder on the littlest heir, the littlest spider, Yara Thakrar. And as we all know, thou shalt not kill another undead unprovoked. And so this, a clear violation of the Crimson Tapestry by which we have all agreed to abide. The only recompense that is inappropriate is second death.
Murmuring ripples through the crowd, some nods, some arms crossed, but overall the logic of your statement is sound and it resonates. And Diablo turns to Jamie. Jamie Shimizu, who claims no house, Do you accept this grievance and this recompense? I do not accept this grievance, for it is a sham. A lie. One of many deceptions woven by the House of the Spider, but I do accept the terms of the duel, and I accept the recompense to the second death. Very well. The grievances are stated, the terms are thus. The duel shall last until one dies, no sooner and no later. Meet in the center and prepare to turn at my command. And Jamie strides forward, kind of working their knuckles, rippling out their fists, cracking their neck from side to side. And you meet them in the center row, until the two of you are face to face, eye to eye, though I do think you derive some satisfaction from seeing Jamie look up at you, for the height difference is clear. And then Diablo says, "Turn!" And Jamie turns so their back faces you.
And before Jamie can turn, as we are looking eye to eye to each other, Ro says, again, Ro is speaking very loudly so that not a single soul within this catacomb can go without hearing every word coming out of her mouth. Ray says, though we may weave many webs, House Thakrar did not weave the Crimson Tapestry. You are not above it just because no house claims you. And then they turn.
You can feel Jamie rippling with anger, though their back is turned to you, and Diablo starts to count down. And with each number, you know you have to take one step forward. And Diablo says, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin. Ro, do you spring into action first, or do you let Jamie come after you?
As Ro is walking the 8 paces that is necessary away from Jamie, Ro is parallel to the bar at this point. And as they walk, they quickly grab one of the bar stools that is placed on the ground, and they tear apart a wooden leg of the bar stool. And they spend the remaining 7, 6, 5 paces running their long fingernails over the wood, sharpening it to a point. And when they turn around to face Jamie, they have this long stake in their hand. It's much longer than the ones that Jamie was trying to use. It looks almost like a sword in Ro's very practiced hand. And they stand with the stake held up in front of them, prepared. Ray does not spring into action. Ray is poised and controlled, waiting for Jamie to make their move.
Okay. Jamie is the one that comes at you, again, like that rabid animal. As soon as Diablo says begin, they whip around and they, tackle the floor to where their wooden stakes have been scattered by Seir. They grab 2, one in each hand, and they throw one at you with unerring aim towards your heart.
And in response, with a single hand, Ro will whip the wooden stake in her hand, batting the wooden stake away that is flying towards their heart. And they take steps, very slow and controlled, towards Jamie as they do so, slowly closing the gap between them. Almost as if there's no rush here.
One stake goes wide, but they've grabbed them. They came prepared with at least 7 stakes on their body that are just scattered all around the dance floor. They're grabbing them like ammunition, and they fling another one at you that I assume you also parry away. Almost like you're treating it treating your long stake like a foil or a rapier instead of an actual dagger. And then they come at you teeth bared and they shout, You were supposed to protect Shem, but now Ren is dead because of you! And the stake comes down, and now they're closing the gap.
With one hand, Ro will grab Jamie's wrist, the one that is holding the stake, just before it reaches Rare Heart. And with the other, with their own stake in hand, Ro gets a little bit closer and closes that distance so that the tip of that stake is pointed right up at Jamie's heart. Not piercing, but touching, making contact. And Ray smiles with no mirth in that face. I say, do not ever, ever try to take the life of a spider. Your partner, Ren, made that mistake. Not as directly as you, but that is why she lost her life. And that is why you will lose yours. And Ro goes to plunge the stake into Jamie's heart.
I need you to roll for that. So what action are you invoking?
This feels like a hunt check.
Okay. No, that works. That absolutely works.
Okay.
How many pips do you have?
I don't, is the thing.
Okay, so that would be 0. I'm gonna set position and effect. Your position is risky. Your effect is standard. Pretty standard roll here. What's your thirst at? Because you just drank, right? So you're at 0.
Well fed, yeah, 0.
Okay, would you like to push yourself or accept the twist of fate? Because that's
okay.
That's
what is the difference
0?
between the two? What is the difference? Between the two?
Push yourself as you mark 2 thirst and you get an automatic 1d into the pool. Twist of fate, you mark nothing, but Con gets to do something no matter what you roll.
Okay. I will push myself to add another die, and then I will mark 2 thirst.
Go for it. Okay, so roll 1d6.
Okay. Please, dear God.
I'm gonna win.
I hate that face.
So I got a 3.
Oh my god.
That is a bad outcome. Things go poorly. You fail or suffer intense complications. Okay, as you push the stake forward, Jamie's drops well, you're holding their wrist with one hand and using the other to push the stake in. Okay, they release the stake in the hand that you're grabbing and they use their other hand to grab onto yours and prevent it from stabbing them through the heart. So this is a contest of pure strength at this point. And you feel the stake pierce their skin and blood starts to bloom, but it doesn't go through their heart. They're straining. You speak real big for someone who is so good at double talk, don't you, Rhododendron? You never, ever gave Ren the chance to prove themselves in the eyes of their house. They had talent, they had skill, they had potential, but you never nurtured them, you never helped them grow, you always looked down on them, didn't you? That's why you didn't fulfill your duty to protect them. That's why they're dead, because of you. And Ro, you know, Jamie is talking around the truth. You both know what actually happened. But Jamie can't say the actual accusation because doing so would shame Ren's memory by revealing they were a mole. And you can't actively admit what you did because that would shame House Thakrar by revealing that you indeed did violate one of the very Crimson Edicts you're invoking now. So I am going to, as your failure, put a social harm on you, exposed. It's going to be a 2nd level harm. Would you like to resist it?
Can I? Can I attempt
You can.
to?
Yes, you can. You can resist any consequence, including harm at any time, and it just works. So you say how you fend off the opposition. In this case, I think you need to make a public case against them and make a resistance roll.
Okay.
We'll do the roll after you fend it off.
Okay. I think hearing all of this, Ro, still trying to push that stake into Jamie's heart, starts to laugh a little bit and says, Potential. I did everything that I could to protect poor young Ren. I even tried to help them improve their art, bring it to the vision that she wanted it to be. But do you want to know the truth? She was never good enough. I was protecting them from their own lack of talent by keeping them away from the public eye. From the ire of critics that would have torn Ren apart had her work seen the light of day. That was my job.
So, that is going to be a spirit resistance roll. So, what's your attribute rating in spirit?
3.
Okay, so roll 3d6.
Okay. Please, one of these has to be good.
Actually, you get... Actually, no, 3d6, my bad. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I got 2 6s and a 4!
Let's go!
Okay, yeah. So how resistance rolls work is you suffer 6 thirst minus the highest die result. Because you critted, you get to satiate 1 thirst instead.
Oh
So
my god.
You're off a box. Yeah.
Okay,
You're off a
amazing.
box.
I'm at 1 thirst.
Yeah, the entire crowd is on your side as you say this. You not only deflect the accusation, but you turn the tables and make Jamie look weak and foolish. You humiliate them entirely.
Are we, like, in the above table for you, Connie, are we as vampires in the lore of Inferno only allowed to feed on the blood of our, like, chosen blood type? Or is anything on the table, it's just we won't get satiated if it's not our type?
Pretty much anything's on the table, yeah. As long as it's within the edicts of the Crimson Tapestry and it satiates your feeding.
Okay. Okay, so technically, the Edict of the Crimson Tapestry, one of the edicts, is thou shalt not drink a mortal to death. Does not say anything about vampires, and we are currently in a formal duel to second death. And I think Ro has had enough of all of this and has had enough of Jamie running their mouth. And so they, in a feint, Ro releases pressure on that stake, disarming Jamie for a second, and will go immediately for their throat, tearing at it. There is no restraint that Ro is holding on to in this moment. Their fangs are out, their eyes are wide, yellow, striking, and they are tearing and ripping. There is blood and sinew within Ro's mouth.
Ro, typically when you feed with clinical mathematical precision, an almost disaffected attitude toward the mortals whose blood is ignited with love. And yes, it does fulfill your thirst, it does wipe that thirst track clean, but there's always something missing. Isn't there, Ro? You're so dispassionate. You have been told, you've been schooled, you've been disciplined into being so dispassionate with your feedings. This is the opposite of everything Willow has taught you about feeding. This is messy, this is indulgent, and this completely fills every part of your senses, scratches every itch, and you drink Jamie whole. You drink their grief, you drink their rage, you drink all of the love that they had in their heart for Ren, Shimizu, and you drown in an ocean of crimson. You indulge your thirst here. So we are going to resolve that as well. You slake your thirst. How much thirst are you at?
I was at 1.
Okay. What is your weakest attribute? Body?
Yes.
Roll for that, please. Roll how many pips there are.
That is 1d6.
Yep.
I rolled a 2.
So you clear thirst equal to that. How much thirst did you have?
I had 1, so I went 1 over.
Yep. So technically, Jamie is also your, well, it's not your blood type because they're a vampire. So you overindulge. You clear more thirst than you have. And instead of picking from the list, I think it's really clear what happens here in your overindulgence, if I may. You have perfectly, with your words, with your composure during this duel, fended off all of Jamie's attacks, both physical, verbal, and social. But a gap in House Thakrar's armor is revealed in this moment of pure violence and viciousness. You even hear Yara gasp as you just kind of go in fangs bared and you take. How is this so different from the Rhododendron Thakrar Inferno knows?
Inferno knows a row that doesn't exist. A row that is constantly weaving a web, constantly poised, shoulders down and back, face schooled, never showing any emotion that goes above neutral, that goes above slightly, what even? Elated, euphoric. Ro doesn't know what that means, but they do right now. They haven't felt this way since, well, for a very long time. They haven't felt something real. And I think for the first time in a very long time, maybe ever, for some of the people in the crowd, they are meeting Ro as Ray is, really and truly. They are meeting a sliver, a piece of Ro's tension, of their pain, of their longing bursting out from within them. And if I may, after Ro has fed on Jamie and drank them dry, they come up and there is this luminescence to their eyes, to their yellow eyes, like little lights have been turned on inside of them somewhere. And with the blood dripping down their mouth, down their throat, onto that white ink tattoo of a spider web on their chest and shoulders and neck, they look up. They don't even get up, but they look up, hands still on Jamie's body. And they say out to everybody, "Let this be a reminder to all that House Thakrar does not take lightly any threats to members of our house."
Jamie Shimizu dies with Ren's name whispered on their lips, choked out with such feeble volume. Only you hear it, Ro, and you feel, you taste Ren Shimizu's name in your mouth, dribbling down your chin, down the front of your throat, across your white ink tattoo, and pooling in a crimson river at your feet. And Diablo steps forward and Diablo says, "The duel is finished. Jamie Shimizu, who claims no house, has been slain by Rhododendron Thakrar of House Thakrar. So it is said, so it is done." And we'll end the session there. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this installment of the Chaos Protocol Arc 3. I've been Connie Chang, your game master. I'm going to pass along introductions to the one and only Hamnah Shahid.
Hi everyone, my name is Hamnah. I use any and all pronouns, and I am a TTRPG performer and producer. You can find me all over the internet at Lilith TTRPG. So if you like the very normal things that I do them other places too. Right now, Transplaner is the main place you can find me though, so catch me here next week as well. Yeah, playing Ro's been real fun. Good times. That's all I got for now. I'm gonna pass things over to Val.
Hello, everybody. My name is Valiant Dorian. I use he, him, his pronouns. You can find me all around the internet at Valiant Dorian, or also Spirit Bear. Please enjoy that lovely show that I just set you on. Tonight, I had the distinct pleasure of playing Seir, who uses he, they pronouns, and will snuff out your life if you threaten Nova. You can find me on Tiny No Tales tomorrow, but day after tomorrow. Tomorrow? No, it is tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, tomorrow, where I play Hector or Troy, and I also got a bunch of other projects down the pipeline. Please go and check it out. I'm gonna pass it on over to the hot shot of the hour. Clearly, all right.
Hi everyone, I'm Kai. You can find me all over the internet as a style of Imladris. You can find me back here causing no problems and apparently rolling well again, which is nice, as Mr. Xainan Esch very soon. And in the meantime, you can find me with Val tomorrow playing Patroclus against his Hector over on Tiny No Tales and many other adventures. And Samm, why don't you take us away?
Hello. I am Sam Star. I played Lumièra. You can catch me all across social medias regardless at Lust for Life X. Just follow me there for the stuff that I'm up to continuously. What's up, boss? Take us home.
It's a me, the boss. I'm taking us home. So if you enjoyed what you saw here tonight, consider leaving us a positive review, joining our Discord server, or posting about us on social media. Not only does it help our creator brains when we're on the verge of burnout, but it also helps us continue to reach out to sponsors to help make this work possible. The winter holidays are coming up, but fear not. Chaos will return next Saturday, December 21st at 8 p.m. US Eastern Time before settling for a week's rest at the end of the year. So no stream after next week, but next week we will be here. Stick around for the raid, Transplanerds, and we will see you back here next week, same time, same place. Journey well. Howdy, Transplanerds! You know what time it is. It's sponsor Connie time with a word from Hero Forge. Hero Forge has officially leveled up with kit bashing. When you become a pro member, you can place up to 20 more items anywhere on one of your Blorbos with their own independent scaling, rotation, and movement. You can make your character look exactly as they should, even if the specific clothing or accessory option isn't available at the base level. You just have to get a little creative. And because I love you, Transplaners, here's a special sneak peek at a kit-bashed version of Oblivion. Just look at those wings and that base. This would not be possible without the power of kit bashing. The combinations are literally endless, and you can print your kit bashed Blorbos as plastic minis, standees, digital STL files, or even Hero Forge's brand new color statuettes. Color statuettes are twice the size of a regular mini, and just look at this. I mean, look how massive this is, and especially in comparison to a regular mini, you can really get into all the nooks and crannies and details that wouldn't be as apparent on a regular sized mini. Just look at how Oblivion dwarfs Oka here. And also, if you're a GM, consider busting out one of these bad boys during a boss fight to really get your players shaking in their boots. Oblivion agrees. Unlock the true power of Hero Forge with a Hero Forge Pro subscription starting at $3.99 a month. Get in there and start creating at bit.ly/transforge. Now, let's get back to the show. Or more likely, just more of the waiting room. Trust in her will.